Hi guys, my name is Mayana and I know it's been a while, but today I'm going to be doing my August wrap up. August was mentally a pretty big busy month for me. Like a lot went on in August, and so I just ended up not feeling like doing anything. Like I stopped reading. I was watching a little bit of anime. Like I mostly ended up on TikTok, and I haven't watched any booktube, but I really miss you guys, and a lot has been going on in my life, and one thing that makes me happy is my subscribers. So I was like, okay, well let me upload, because the comments I get from you guys makes me so happy. Like on my birthday, I had a good birthday, which was my previous video that I uploaded. On my birthday I didn't do anything, and I had so much planned out and ended up not doing anything at all. And I was like, even though I was happy, I was still sad that I just wanted to go to Barnes & Noble and out to dinner, and I couldn't do those things. So I was a little sad that I didn't get to do that. And there was a lot going on mentally, and I've just been going through a lot, love life, family life, everything. And so I just kind of disappeared for a little bit, but I do miss you guys, and you guys bring me a lot of happiness. So I just decided to upload my wrap up. So let's just get into the books that I read. I only read 9 books. I'm going to be talking about 10 because I do have one DNF. It was DNF'd at 60%. I actually have 2 DNFs, but we're not going to talk about the other one. And then also, I'm sorry that I'm not talking with my microphone. I don't know if you can see, I'm not talking with my microphone in this video. I really just don't feel like going through the trouble that I went through with the other 2 videos. I really just want to edit, and then it falls. I really just want to edit and upload. You guys know I love fall, so I had to come back for the vibes, because fall keeps me sane and happy for some reason. Even though in fall, that's when you get seasonal depression. It's a give and a take here, you know. Okay, so the first book I read is His Majesty by Sean. I found this through TikTok. I usually don't trust TikTok recommendations, but somebody posted a screenshot. The book is about a second chance romance. It is between a couple, and they had just broken up, and it's a black love story, by the way, so I highly recommend it. It's really short, really quick, and I gave it 5 stars. Oh my god, Mayana, do you know how to film a booktube video? Do you know how to film a booktube video? So I was saying, sorry, I gave it 5 stars. It's about a recently broken up couple. The boyfriend, the guy, the love interest, he is absolutely obsessed with her. It literally starts with her out on a date with somebody, and he pops up on her. I love crazy. I love a crazy man. I love a man who will do anything for his girl, for his woman. I eat it up. So yeah, yeah, you get his point of view, her point of view, and I really liked it because he was crazy. But also in the beginning, I was irritated because I couldn't figure out why she broke up with him, because she was the one who broke it off, and it was so annoying. And I also found the main character annoying. But as I read on, I was like, oh, it totally makes sense to why they broke up. Because you know why they broke up, but you're like, okay, why would you break up with somebody over this? But then the more the story goes on, you figure out why they broke up, and it makes a lot of sense. And I just loved it. It has some good smut, really good. Then I read Confessions of an Alleged Good Girl, which I also gave 5 stars. I started off my birthday month really good. It did unfortunately go downhill from there, but it's neither here nor there. So this is a YA book, and if you know me, you know I do not read YA books. But Kenya from Lily Reads did this book for her book club, and I had watched the book club live stream, and I was like, this book just sounds so good. So this book is about this girl who has tried to have sex with her boyfriend 27 times, I believe, and it just doesn't work. It's just not working out for her. So then she ends up finding out that she has a medical problem. Her dad is a preacher, so her family is heavily involved in the church. Her dad is really close with her boyfriend, and he ends up breaking up with her because it just is not working out. And that's when she ends up figuring out that she actually has a problem, sexually she has a problem. And so she ends up working with these 2 other characters, and they end up going on these adventures, trying to just help her out. And one of the friends is a guy, and they end up forming this romance, and his name is Reggie. And I loved Reggie. Reggie was absolutely hilarious. He was so unserious, he was so fucking unserious. It was actually hilarious. He would just be lying just a lot. There was one scene where, so his so her family was always like taking him to church and like picking him up. And so there was one scene where just the friends are like going to his house and they're like about to hang out, and he's like, actually, I don't live here. The boy has been lying about where he lived the entire time. Like, he was just lying just to lie. And I thought it was hilarious. Like, he just reminds me of one of those boys in school who, like, were always joking, like the class clown, just doing stuff just to do stuff. And I loved it because one thing about me, I love a class clown. I don't know if I talk about that in my videos a lot, but I love like a class clown type of person. Like, the funny one, like, in like the romance books, I love the funny ones. Like, that's why I love reading reverse harems, because the funny ones, like, there's always the funny one, and that's always the one that I love the most. I think we need more like romances where the girl gets was like the funny slash class clown. Like, I would eat it up. I don't want to go back and read the author's previous book just because it has to do with list, and I just don't like book with lists. I have some exceptions, but I just don't feel like I'm gonna like it. But any book that this author puts out in the future, I will be reading. I think this book is excellent for young teens to learn about sex education and learn that sex is okay. Oh, it was just really good. It was just a really good book, and I'll be reading anything that the author puts out next. Then I reread The Year of the Witching because the author has another book coming out soon. I think this month actually. And then also I just feel like when I first read this book, I didn't really like it. So I wanted to give it another chance because like this is right up my alley. Like black girl, witchy, like everything. But unfortunately, I still did not like it. Like, even though I've grown, I still felt the same. I felt like nothing really happens in the plot. I feel like the book was boring. I'm trying to read my full review so I don't miss anything. Okay, so the atmosphere was nice and the setting was nice. I loved it. It actually reminded me of Fear Street 1666, which is the last one in the trilogy, and I really love that. And it also reminded me of The Witch and the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, the comic book, not the actual show. Like the first pages in the comic book, it just really reminded me of that. And these are like all of my favorite things. Like, I love The Witch, I love Fear Street, love Sabrina the comic book. Unfortunately, the book was just extremely fucking boring. Like, there was really nothing I struggled to hold on to the book. I struggled to pay attention. I was listening to the audiobook, so I literally like was just sitting and laying there, and I felt my mind like wandering off multiple times just because I could not sit there and focus. And I didn't really like the main character, Emmanuel. It's not that I hated her, I just felt like her character really fell flat. This book basically put me in a reading slump, which makes me really sad because I literally hadn't read a lot this month in August. So yeah. So then I read Pretty Little Wife, and this book is a thriller. I don't know why I keep reading thrillers. Like, basically the next 2 months you're just gonna sit through me reading thrillers, not really loving them, and then being like, why don't I like thrillers, and keep reading them. I just feel like with thrillers, like, no plot twist is good enough. Like, I can see everything coming. Nothing really has me shook. Nothing has me shaking. Like, nothing really has me gasping. And maybe I need to stop reading thrillers and searching for that, because the girls are not gagging me. Like, I am not gagged whatsoever. And I just, like, everyone's like, oh my gosh, it was so crazy. And then it's like, okay, well, I figured that out already. Like, maybe I think too much. I don't know. I do listen to these mostly on audiobooks, so it's like all I have time to do is really focus on the plot. But like, I want a thriller where it's like no matter how much I think, it still like throws me off. Because even in certain books, like this one for example, it had a really good plot twist, but it didn't make any sense. Anyway, so I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. This book is a basic domestic thriller. Well, not basic. The husband goes missing. There are 3 girls in this town that have also like been found like dead, and the wife is a suspect for killing the husband, and you're trying to figure out like how these stories are intertwined. If the wife did it, like what did she do? And I just feel like the plot twist in this story was a little too good for the story itself. Like, the plot twist was really good, but it just doesn't fit this story. It's like the author based the plot twist around the story, if that makes sense. So she came up with the plot twist and then she based everything around it, and like I don't know how to explain it. The plot twist was super good though, but there were too many characters. I kept getting characters confused with other characters. I think I completely made up another character. Oh, I kept confusing Ryan for Jared, which they're 2 completely different characters, and it's really important for the end that you don't confuse the 2. And then I thought Jared's name was Tobias. I'm pretty sure Tobias is a completely different character. Like, who the fuck is Tobias? And like I don't know, I just couldn't, like, it was too many characters, it was too many men. Oh my gosh, it was too many men. And it was really boring up until, like, nothing was interesting. Like, it was just the wife being accused of killing the husband. And like and then I read Jar of Hearts by Jennifer Hillier. I will be reading another Jennifer Hillier book. I gave this book 5 stars. I absolutely love this book. This is also a thriller, and by no means was the plot twist unguessable for me. The plot twist is good, but I figured it out. Now, did I figure it out completely? No. Did I figure it out literally 5 minutes into, like, the plot twist, 5 minutes before the plot twist was explained? Yes, but it's not my fault. So this book, how do I explain this book? I'm so sorry. So this book is about, okay, when the main character was 16, her best friend was murdered by her boyfriend, and the main character helped him. So then they end up, the story starts off with the trial, and she's up going to jail because she did help him kill her best friend. And half of the book takes place in prison, which, like, was fine, but I don't want to, like, mislead you, so I don't want you reading this thriller and then half of this fucking book takes place in prison and you're like, girl, what the fuck am I reading? So then her ex-boyfriend ends up escaping from prison, and a bunch of murders end up going on, and the main character is trying to figure out, which they like, they're just trying to figure out, like, what's going on, because these women are being killed the same way that her best friend was killed, and there's clearly a pattern here. And I thought that the plot twist was really good. This book reminds me of Scream in the sense of, like, kill a boyfriend. Like, this is like Scream if Sydney were to help Billy. You know what I'm saying? Love Billy. But yeah, that's why I liked it. I thought it was crazy. That was insane. And I thought the main character was insane. And I feel like we just need more insane main characters in the thriller. Like, she was just not your typical bitch that you read in a thriller, and I really respected that. So by that I had to give it 5 stars because I've never read a thriller where I actually cared about the main character. And then I read Blindsided, and this one I ended up giving 3 to 5 stars. This is by Karen Slaughter, because I ended up reading another Karen Slaughter book later on in the month, and I just wanted to why did I read this one specifically? Because there was I should have read something else before I read that one, but I read this one. Oh, because Haley from Haley Hughes was talking about it in her live show. So I wanted to read it because they said one of the books follow a cult, and I was like, period, I will sit through 6 books of a thriller series, even though I don't like thriller series, for a cult book. I will do anything I gotta do for that. So I did what I had to do and I read the book. I ended up getting a book 3 out of 5 stars. This book is about this small town. It puts me in the mind of Midnight Mass, where, like, the coroner is also, like, she also does something else. I don't fucking remember. And there's, like, a police officer, and I don't even remember what the murder. Oh, the police officer's twin sister, who was blind and a lesbian, has been murdered. So they're trying to figure out what happened. The main character, no, not the main character, sorry. The police officer was annoying. I'm very upset that I had to sit through that, and I will not be picking up any of the other books simply because she was annoying. And then someone commented on my review and said that she doesn't get better, so I'm not gonna waste my time. Like, I loved the main character. Well, I didn't want to say I loved her, but I really enjoyed her. But the book was not that good because the cop was annoying. Like, she was doing stupid stuff. Like, she was unbearable. I could not sit through it. Big Little Lies. So I had got my mom to watch Big Little Lies, and then I really wanted to check it out, but I can't watch Big Little Lies without reading the book. So I read the book and I actually gave the book 5 stars. I absolutely love this book. This book is a thriller, but I kind of read it as a literary fiction. It is about this new mom and her son who moved to this really prestigious town in California, and basically she's going taking her kid, what is it, pre-K? She's taking her kid to pre-K, and her son has just been accused of choking this little girl because nobody saw what happened. And so you're following, like, these rich moms plus this new mom who just moved to the neighborhood, and the mystery of, like, what's going on because somebody did die. So this book leads up to this costume party where everyone dresses as Elvis or Audrey Hepburn, choices, whatever, it's white people stuff, and somebody died, so you don't know who died until the end, which I really like that. But I really loved, like, I really love this book. I really love Madeline. And then I also watched the TV show after, which helped me appreciate the book even more. Because when I first read it, I gave it 4 stars. But then I watched the TV show, both seasons, and I absolutely loved it. I'm obsessed. I want season 3. I love all the women. I love all the characters. I feel like if I could relate to any of the characters, I would relate to Madeline. Just like based off like her being like small and mighty, and like everyone just being like this tiny little bitch. And I also relate to, I forgot her name, but Madeline's ex-husband's new wife, like her, just based off like the spirit, like her being like very spiritual and like, you know, meek. I don't know how to explain it, but I love the aesthetic of the show. I love like the houses that they live in, that they live on like this little beach thing. It also reminded me of Midnight Mass, but in the sense of the small town of it all. Midnight Mass is more so the poor man's version, because you know the town in Midnight Mass was just, yeah. So I really loved it, and I really want to, like, I even love the kids. Like, oh my gosh, like in the end of season 1, where the kids are like dancing and all the girls are like friends and they're on the beach crying, tears. And I love this book because it didn't make the kids annoying. It didn't do that crazy, it didn't do that stupid thing that authors do when they write kids, where the kids like sorry, and like it's like they like type it in a kid's voice. Like, these were just normal fucking kids, and like I don't know, like I love that, like even though it involved the kids, like it involved the kids. Like, this story is based on what happened in that preschool, and it focuses on that. Like, it's not just something that like happens in the background, or like even in the TV show, like, and a lot of like TV shows that follow, like, you know, adults, like women, like it'll barely show their husbands, and it'll barely show their kids, and it'll just show their friendship. And then also I think this book had really good female friendships. Like, nobody was like, they weren't like someone sleeping with someone's husband or stabbing each other in the back, like no crazy stuff like that. Like, it's had good and healthy female relationships, and that's what I love to see in books. So I just absolutely love this book. Like, I'm obsessed. I ate it up. About to cry just thinking about it. I did read Nine Perfect Strangers. I started it, put me in a reading slump, so I had nothing else to say. And then I read Girl Forgotten, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. So I did enjoy the book, but there are some issues that I have. So Girl Forgotten takes place in so it starts off in the 80s, and it's about this girl who was pregnant and she ended up murdered. And then you follow this detective and how, like, 30 years later she's trying to solve the case. So personally, I love the scenes where it followed was it like the 80s or 90s? Like, what the fuck? Okay, well, so Emily is like the 80s or the 90s character, and then Andrea is like the boring detective. So Emily's plot lines were so interesting to me. Like, seeing what happened, like her life was just so interesting. And then Andrea, like, she was just trying to solve the case, but like that was like so boring. Like, it was so boring. I kind of wish the whole book had been about Emily. Like, we would just saw like everything that happened with Emily and then her dying. I would have been fine with that. We didn't even need to have a detective. We didn't even need to have like somebody trying to figure out what happened. I feel like Karen Slaughter put that in the book just so she could have like a more page counts, because I really feel like Andrew's plotline was not good. And I'm not even gonna lie to you guys, also I was spoiled for the first book, because the other book was Pieces of Her, and that was like the first book. Read that before you read Girl Forgotten, because you will get like a huge spoiler. So that was my own fault, so I'm not really mad about that. But I'm not reading any more Karen Slaughter books that have detectives, because she makes them very boring. And then I read the world sensation I'm Glad My Mom Died. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. If you don't know what this book is about, it's about Jeanette McCurdy, who plays Sam on iCarly, and she talks about the trauma that she experienced growing up from the age of 6 until her mom died at 21. And even talks about like how she felt after her mom died. Her mom abused her mentally a lot, abused her brothers, abused her dad. Her life was just very sad, and it's very interesting because like I feel like I'm so desensitized from like mental abuse that like when watching other people react to this book, I'm like, oh, okay, like people are crying, and I'm like, this is sad, but like, you know, it's not that bad. And then I'm like, there's something you need to address here, man. But I really loved it. Like, I really love, like, you don't have to forgive your mom for how she treated you. Like, a lot of people think that, like, you should forgive your family and all these things for your own mental sake. But it's like, all that it does is allow her to slip back in and traumatize you more. Honestly, I personally feel like you don't have to forgive your parents. You don't have to do anything that you don't want to do just because other people think that you have to. Unless you want to do that, then go ahead and do that. And it's just her, like, realizing that she was traumatized and abused by her own mom, and all these, like, disgusting things that her mom did to her, the boundaries that she crossed. It was just very familiar and interesting to read from, and I just feel like Jennette McCurdy is so strong, and I would love more childhood celebrities to write about their lives. Also, this also talks about Dan Snyder, who is the creator of Zoe 101, Victorious, iCarly, a lot of, like, popular Nickelodeon shows, and it talks about how disgusting he was. I also feel like if you're very interested in the Dan Snyder case, you should check out Alexa Nicole. She was, oh no, sorry, I think it's Alexa Nicholas. She was Nicole on Zoe 101, and she's been talking about the trauma that Dan Snyder has caused her for years. None of her cast members really believed her. A lot of people faked believed her. Anyways, yeah, so Dan Snyder, absolutely disgusting. There's a lot of, like, wild and crazy things that happen in the story. One of the things that I thought was, like, wild was, so Jennette McCurdy was on the phone with her boyfriend, and she had just found out that her dad was not her real dad after thinking her entire life. I'm pretty sure she was like 21 or 24 at this point. After thinking for her entire life that her dad has been her real dad, had no inclinations that, like, he wasn't her real dad or anything, and this was after her mom died. So she's like, okay, well, I gotta call and tell my boyfriend, like, this is life-changing, this is insane, this is crazy. So she's like, they're going back and forth. She's like, well, I have, like, big news. And then he's like, well, I got big news. And she's like, well, I got big news, so let me go first. And he's like, well, I got big news, so let me go first. She's like, okay, well, I want to go first. And he's like, well, I want to go first. And he's like, you know what, I'll just go first. And then he literally says that he is Jesus reincarnated. Imagine telling your partner, hey, my dad is not my real dad, and your partner goes, well, I have exciting news, I'm Jesus. Arf? Excuse me? What? Yeah, so anyways, this is a weird transition, but the next book I read was Vladimir. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. This is a book about a woman who finds out that her husband has been cheating on her and sexually assaulting a bunch of these women in his college, and so she starts to fall in love with this guy named Vladimir. I liked it for the drama. Not every character is gonna be, like, a good character, and this is not even a good character in the sense of, like, she's an unlikable character. Like, I like her, she's unlikable. No, she's actually unlikable. Like, she actually, like, she victim blames. She still stays with her husband after finding out that he sexually assaulted these women. Like, she did not care, and I just found that the book was really short, and I just found the drama of it all really entertaining. Not of, like, her not caring, but what followed her life in the drama that she ended up getting herself into because of this. But I thought it was really fun to watch this character slowly ruin her life, especially after victim blaming and staying with her terrible husband. It was entertaining to me, and I feel like that was the point of the story. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, maybe I'm reading too deep into it, but I feel like the point of the story was, like, you side with someone who sexually assaults people and you get your karma from it. Like, because all of this that happened is quite literally karma. But who knows, maybe I'm digging too deep, maybe I'm thinking too much. Then I read this story called Mary Jane, which was a YA book, and it was supposed to be like a Taylor Jenkins Reid-esque novel, like, took place in the 70s. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. I did enjoy this book. It just had no plot whatsoever. It was about this girl who is working for this really rich family. Her family is really Christian, and the family that she's nannying for ends up getting involved with, like, these rock stars. So she ends up, like, living, like, the rock star life because they take a liking to her because she can also sing, and it just follows that. But I just feel like the book had, like, no interesting characters, and it didn't really have a plot line. So at the end of the day, I kind of did find it just subpar. Like, it was okay. And then I read The Burning Girls, which I did end up DNFing at 63%. I just found it really, really boring. I read a book by this author before and I didn't really like it, so I decided to save myself the trouble and not finish it. I had really high hopes for this book. A lot of people love this book. This is a lot of people's like all-time favorite. 63% in, and I did not give a fuck. I didn't give a damn. So okay, and then the last book that I read in August was Stay Sexy, Don't Get Murdered. I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. This is a self-help book by the podcast, the hit podcast Stay Sexy, Don't Get Murdered, where they talk about true crime. And I really like the girls. I think they're funny, very relatable, you know, very interesting women. I love the way that they talk about these true crimes. I love the true crimes that they talked about. Some of the cases that they talked about are like cases that like I have actually stuck with me for a very long time. And so I decided to finally check out their podcast because I got into them. I either want to say I got into this podcast either earlier this year or late last year, and so I finally decided I wanted to read this book. So I gave it 4 to 5 stars because I personally think that self-help books are useless. I feel like you cannot teach me anything I don't already know. You really, unless you are, you know, unless you are a psychiatrist, you are a therapist, you have a degree in psychology, you cannot teach me anything. I don't know, but the stories that they talk about I found really interesting. It was really interesting learning about their lives, how they got in the places that they got into, and like how one lucky thing could just make you set for life or set for a really long time, and like could really change your life. And like I thought that was really interesting, but I just feel like this really shouldn't have been marketed as a self-help book because I don't really know what they were supposed to be self-helping. So that is it for this video. I hope that you liked it. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys in my next video. I really love and appreciate you guys so much. Check out my Patreon if you want to. And I love you guys, and I could never be more thankful to have like a support system and people who honestly and truly care about me.